Well, welcome to the Six Bugle podcast. Oh, I should have started with good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you happen to be watching. Welcome to the Six Bugle podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Ruiz, and I'm also joined by my co-host, Christy Hensler. Christy, how are you?
I am riding life's waves, which is what I'm going to talk about today, but
All
I am.
right. I like
So
that. I
I'm
like
trying to
that.
ride them better. So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, because life is wavy, isn't it?
Yes. For sure.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So you just came back from a retreat, yes?
I did in Rhode Island a couple weeks
Okay,
ago.
okay.
So
So
yes.
how was that?
It was good. There was a lot of different, it was a very eclectic group of people.
Okay,
It's a small group, like 28 of us, I think.
okay,
But we had a couple people there speaking and doing some things. And one of those people was Joe Jacoby, who's from the United States, but he lives in Spain now. But he was an Olympic gold medalist back in the Barcelona Olympics.
okay.
He's been doing canoeing, whitewater rafting, kayaking, all that stuff since he's been a teenager
Okay.
and continues to do it over there and trains younger people to this day. And so he and his partner won the Olympic gold in, like I said, in Barcelona. Was that? But I'm not going to say the year because I'll get it wrong. But anyway, he was a he's a short dude. He's a small dude, and so he was talking about how they did that, and it was it was interesting because he said, both me and my partner were short. We weren't the average like whitewater rafting that you would
Right.
see. And we
Mhm.
really didn't have like, we weren't really had a chance to win a medal. But he said, what they did, he said, it wasn't about our strength or our muscle or our size when we won. It was about us aligning with the current of the river.
Wow.
And and he said the reason we won is because we were better at correcting our mistakes than anyone else out there. And it
Nice.
was an interesting take on that. And so I had a lot of good one-on-one conversations with him. And when he talked to us as a group, he was really talking about how it's really not about managing our time, it's about managing our energy. And that really spoke to me because that's kind of been what I've been learning a lot in my own life this year is like it's not really because I'm all about my time and I'm fast and I like to get be efficient and everything, but it's really about aligning my energy because the better energy I have and the better I can keep my energy up, the more I can get done and the
Sure.
better I can get the things out of my life that are stealing my energy. And so we
Hmm.
talked a lot about that. And it was interesting to just hear his story about how he said that when they were training, they even built a boat because they realized all the boats were too big for them and everything. And they're like, well, why do we have to do this? Why can't we just build our own boat that fits us? And so they built their own boat that fit them to train in and all of this stuff. And so he had he had 3 points on how you can ride better life waves. So
Okay.
I'm going to give you the 3 points on this call. But then the third point is he goes into like five subpoints. They're really good. So I'm going to do those on the next call so you can really
Okay.
get it.
All right. So there's
So
gonna be a two-part series.
yes, two
Okay.
part series.
All right.
Good.
Good.
Okay, so the first point he gives, and I'm looking at some notes over here, unlock your why. And we talk about this all the time. And what is your purpose? And the difference, the one thing he distinguished, and I think this is good for us all to ask ourselves when we're looking towards goals or purpose, is to really understand what is a goal and what's our purpose. Because sometimes we're going after things that are a goal. It's not our purpose, it's just a goal. But so I think if we can understand and unlock our overarching why, and what that purpose looks like. And so, and that's a whole workshop in itself. But I do
Right.
think, and we've talked about that a lot, that it's so important when I've drawn the compass for you sometimes, but when you know your purpose and you know your why, when you know why you're doing what you're doing, then you can filter all of your decisions, all of your goals, all of your priorities through that filter. It's kind of like your North Star. Do you agree, Rudy?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something that if because if you don't know where you're going, how are you gonna get there?
Yes. Any road will get you there, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Yes. So that was his first point was making sure to unlock your why, and then the second point was achieving impacting wins. Like you have to achieve wins throughout your life, and I think this is so true. And I talk about this in my life hacks book, celebrating small wins, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody is. The finish line for something I accomplished is like the starting line for the next race, and I don't ever stop and celebrate. It's just like, oh, I finished that, moving on. And I think we really need to achieve those impacting wins and kind of um, there's a quote he used: absence of unhappiness doesn't equal happiness. And I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to get the unhappy out of our life. We spend so much time trying to get the negative out of our life, thinking that's going to make us happy. But we're not actually going out there and getting the wins in our life, or living on purpose, or doing the things that matter, that's what's going to give us the true happiness. Then the negative stuff kind of just takes care of itself a lot of times, you
Right.
know? But I think we sometimes reverse it, where we're like, okay, if I just get this person out of my life and get this obligation out of my life, and if I get this done, then I'll be happy. And it's not that way. The absence of unhappiness doesn't just make you happy. You have to go out there and achieve those impacting wins.
Absolutely.
So, so
Absolutely.
that was, yeah, an interesting point. Do you want to say anything on that before
Yeah,
I?
yeah. So I remember, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember when just before I left Sandusky, I was mentoring my replacement, and he took on a project on what to do with vacant and abandoned buildings in the city.
Okay.
We had a lot of industry there that left, right? And
Okay.
they just left their buildings. So they weren't doing anything with them, and it became an attraction for vandalism and so forth, breaking windows and whatnot. So we decided to come up with a plan on what are we going to require the owners to do with that building. They either have to uh, fix it, rent it, or
Okay.
sell it. And they were on a time frame. And if they didn't meet the time frame, it's going to cost them X amount of dollars. And next year, if they don't maintain it, it's going to cost you twice as much, and it's going to double each year. So that moved people to
Hmm.
to do something with their buildings. Now Sandusky is booming. They are doing some fantastic things over there. Bars, restaurants, people are coming back downtown because of what he did. That
Hmm.
his information uh, just went like wildfire. There were people from all over the country that were calling him and saying, "How can we incorporate this in our organization?" He got calls.
Hmm.
He did a presentation in New Mexico from Ohio, so that was very impactful. So the
Yes.
city, the city decided to recognize him, right, and say, "You did a great
So
thing."
cool.
They gave him an award. They presented it to him with city council. His family was there, took pictures, the whole nine. I was very proud of him. I shook his hand. I said, "Man, you did a great thing." He looked at me and he says, "So now what? What do I do now?" I said, "Dude, enjoy this moment.
Take a
You,
drink. Yeah.
you just made a huge
Cheers.
impact." And
Exactly.
this is the city's subtle way of saying thank you, but
Yes.
it was, yeah, it probably wasn't much for him, but he was like, "What do I do
Hmm.
next?" I said, "Enjoy this first."
Hmm.
So he was so motivated to just keep going, he didn't stop
Yes.
to enjoy that
Yes.
moment. So I think that's what you're trying to say here. Enjoy the moments when they do come, because they
Yeah.
become few and far between. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Good.
think you achieve them, and then yeah, celebrate and enjoy them for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then the third point, which we'll dive more into on the next podcast, is ride better life waves. You know, and he gives the 5 points using he's over in Spain now training with a trainer. He's like, I did rafting my whole life and I've never hired a coach till now. He's in his 50s, but he's, doing, like, I don't know what you call it, but paddle surfing. It's not paddle boarding,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
him and yes. And so he's learning how to do that. And so he put together 5 parts on how you actually ride a wave in, in real life, and what that looks like in your life. And so we'll go over that in the next one. But the third key in this is riding better life waves. And he really talked in that about, we all have an inner artist and an inner scientist. And I think sometimes we think it's one way or the other, but it's about balancing that out. Like, and especially even in riding the wave, sometimes it's the scientist part has to come out more, and sometimes the artist, part has to come out more, but it's not all or nothing or either or. He used the idea of like a light switch, like a light dimmer or a
Oh,
dial, which is good for somebody like me because I can easily be an all or nothing person. I'm all in or I'm all out, or
mhm.
I'm all, and so where it's like sometimes we need to dial up the inner artist inside of us, and sometimes we need to dial it back. And it's, we just kind of mess with that based on where we're at on the wave. And so, the one key he gave with the Bride Better Life waves before he went into the 5 points was surf the wave that you're on as long as you possibly can. And I think sometimes we get on a wave in life that we're doing something and then we're like, want to get off. We're like ADD, get us off of this. Let me do something else. Or we want to jump, but we're like, we need to ride out what we're doing as long as we can, whether that's a relation if we're on a wave and it's going, we need to stay there, and not just jump
Right.
ship.
Absolutely.
So, but I'd be interesting to dive more into this, with
Yeah.
y'all on the next call, but it was just really some good stuff that you can actually take and apply where it relates to you in your own life.
Right. No, absolutely. And how cool is that to take something that you're a world-class athlete
Yes.
and change it completely to say at some point he thought in his mind, how can I use this to help,
Yes.
right? And
Yep.
how can I, who'd ever thought that
Hmm.
a surfer or a whitewater rafter is going to be an advocate for leadership or an advocate
Yes.
better life skills.
Yes.
And so that's the mentality that, we all have and that we want
Hmm.
to encourage you to have. Like I've always said, think about the failures and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Even in your joys and your wins, it's
Yes.
how can I incorporate this to help others visualize their wins, or how can they use this
Hmm.
as a tool to improve their wins? And you start with your kids, right? And
Yes.
show them that. I
Hmm.
remember someone said, um, don't give the don't give your kids whatever they want. Give them what
Yes.
you needed when you were younger.
Yes.
And a lot of it is going to be based on the experiences and knowledge
Hmm.
and advice, those types of things.
For
Oh,
sure.
great. This is great stuff. And I'm imagining this young man, and I call him young because he's 50,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I
uh,
get it.
talking about this, and I could see myself engaged in every word that
Mhm.
he's sharing with us. And I bet it was a really good experience for you.
Yeah, he was a great guy, very humble and very definitely he does performance coaching now and different things in the leadership realm. But yes, just very interested in helping other people and,
Right.
taking what he is learning and doing that. So yeah, it was
And
a
that,
great connection
yeah,
for
and that
sure.
does and that does bring joy.
Yes,
You're sharing
for
that
sure.
energy, sharing that experience, and I'm sure that whenever he shares that, people bring in their own experiences and say, "Can I use that?" Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's exactly what you
Right.
do. And here's how you would go ahead and do it. Well, I'm looking
Right.
forward to next week and see
Okay,
how this
good.
how this wonderful journey
How this
continues.
lot ends. Yes.
And so I took notes. I took about half a page of notes here. Very, very good stuff. And I'm
Good.
looking forward to next week. So,
Yeah, I'll tell you the 5 points and I'll tell you a story about what happened to his Olympic gold medal. So
oh,
yes. And I have a picture of it. I held it. What
did
was
you?
left of it, but I'll tell you the
Oh
story. Yes.
no!
Yes. There's your
Oh,
cliffhanger. Okay,
now we're
so
really gonna
yes.
have to. Let's just keep going. I'll
So
be that
yes.
story now.
So make sure you
We'll
watch the next
tune in for
podcast.
next week. That's what you
Yes.
call a cliffhanger, boy. I tell you, leaving us a
So
cliffhanger. Only you.
yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here on the Six Bugle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Very insightful information here. As we always try to do, we always try to bring you some insightful information. Again, I'm going to ask you like anything that we like to talk about, let us know. And if you want to
Yes.
be a guest on our podcast, we're more than happy to bring you on. I have a couple
Yes.
fire chiefs that I want to bring on, hopefully before the end of the year, and
Good.
to share some of their insights and the impact that you provided in Wisconsin with that informational show,
Yes.
the 5 things
Good.
I want my chief to know, is really catching fire. And I mean,
Good.
not literally, but that's a
Yeah.
pun
No
in the
pun
fire service,
intended. I
right?
know.
But it really is taking off, and I appreciate you for all of that. So thank you for that information. All right, with nothing else being said, certainly do appreciate it, and take care. See you, Christy.
Yeah.